All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to this explainer where we're going to unpack a professional academic review synthesizing the truly fascinating cellular mechanisms of plant defense. Have you ever wondered what actually happens inside a plant the exact millisecond a caterpillar takes a bite out of a leaf? It's really easy to think of plants as just passive green background objects, but the reality is they possess an explosive, highly coordinated, and remarkably fast cellular reaction system. Today, we're going to look closely at how a localized wound triggers an entire plant-wide immune and healing response.
To map out these incredible biocircuits, we'll follow the spatial expansion of a wound. We'll start with the local damage, trace the electrical signals, look at the chemical coordination, track the systemic defense, and then finally, look at how all these cellular mechanisms integrate.
Section 1. Local damage and immediate response. Everything kicks off right at the exact macroscopic and microscopic site of injury, where cells have to instantly initiate structural repair while simultaneously sounding the alarm. When a plant gets wounded, it basically launches two completely different but linked agendas. Locally, right where the bite or cut happened, it's all about survival, sealing the breach, regenerating tissue, and pumping out an initial burst of a hormone called jasmonic acid, or JA. But systemically, meaning over in the completely uninjured leaves on the other side of the plant, the response is totally different. Those distant leaves aren't fixing tissue, they are preemptively arming themselves. They're activating defense genes and churning out bitter, toxic compounds like protease inhibitors.
Right at that local site, the neighboring cells actually have to hit the reset button and re-enter the cell cycle. They form a callus, which is driven by specific transcription factors called Wind. Now, if the damage is down at the root, genes like plethora2 and ERF115 step in to drive a super-specialized root tip regeneration. The plant also literally has to reconnect its severed vascular pipelines, the xylem and phloem. And while all this physical reconstruction is going on, enzymes known as 13-LOX are synthesizing that initial local burst of jasmonic acid. But here's the crazy part. While these local cells are busy doing structural repair, a rapid electrochemical warning is already firing off to the rest of the plant.
Section 2. The electrical signaling network. Yes, you heard that right. Plants use electricity to communicate.
To really grasp how this works, we need to talk about the slow wave potential, or SWP. This is a massive membrane depolarization that entirely dictates the plant's initial alarm response. Unlike the action potentials you might remember from high school biology about human nerves, the slow wave potential is uniquely found in plants, and it usually happens right after severe tissue damage. It features this incredibly rapid drop in electrical potential across the cell membrane, which is then followed by a much longer, delayed repolarization phase. This SWP is basically the primary electrical trigger pushing the warning signal out and away from the wound zone.
So at the boundary of the cell, the plasma membrane, this massive four-step cascade kicks off. Step 1, the physical act of wounding literally forces cells to spill an amino acid called glutamate out into the extracellular space, the apoplast. Step 2, that spilled glutamate binds to and activates these specific sensor proteins called GLR ion channels. Step 3, once those channels snap open, they allow a massive rush of calcium ions to flood into the cell. And finally, Step 4, this sudden dramatic shift in electrical charge causes the membrane depolarization, which ultimately generates the slow wave potential we just talked about. It is just this incredibly seamless conversion of physical damage into a chemical signal, and then right into an electrical one.
Now, the absolutely crucial point here is the speed. 13 centimeters per minute. These electrical signals can shoot along vascular connections at speeds up to 13 centimeters every single minute. For a plant, that is blazingly fast. It means that within just a minute or two of a caterpillar taking its first bite out of a lower leaf, an electrical warning has physically sprinted up the stem and is already alerting the leaves at the very top of the plant. No way, right?
Section 3. Chemical coordination with calcium and ROS. Because, as it turns out, this electrical surge doesn't travel alone. It goes hand in hand with chemical waves. This systemic signal literally washes over the entire plant in a wave-like propagation. It's an actual physical wave of calcium ions and reactive oxygen species, or ROS, just lighting up cell after cell. As the electrical potential drops, it triggers a calcium release, which then triggers ROS, which pushes the wave right along into the next cell. It's like a rapid-fire chain reaction. Let's anchor ourselves in time for a second, because the choreography here is amazing. Within literal seconds of the injury, we get electrical depolarization and the firing of those slow wave potentials. Over the next few minutes, those calcium and ROS waves wash through the plant's vascular system. Then, it takes roughly 1 hour for these rapid signals to penetrate the nucleus of distant cells and actually kick off gene activation. And finally, at the 2+ hour mark, we start seeing the physical accumulation of defense compounds, like proteinase inhibitors, in those distant tissues. And as the systemic signal expands, it doesn't just, diffuse randomly like a drop of ink in a glass of water. It travels through highly specific transmission paths, utilizing specialized cell types, like the endodermis and the vascular bundles. These cell layers act almost like high-speed fiber optic cables, making sure the warning reaches the rest of the plant as efficiently as possible without losing any signal strength along the way. Section 4. The Systemic Defense Response. This is the ultimate destination of our journey, happening in distant, completely undamaged leaves. Once these rapid signals arrive, they trigger de novo jasmonic acid synthesis in the distal tissues to initiate a whole plant immunity. And de novo literally means from scratch. See, the distant leaf doesn't just sit around waiting for the hormone to travel all the way from the wounded leaf, because that would take way too long. Instead, the fast electrical and calcium waves show up and basically instruct the undamaged leaf to immediately manufacture its own jasmonic acid locally, often relying on enzymes like LOX6 that are hanging out right next to the xylem. So once that jasmonic acid is synthesized in the uninjured leaves, what does it actually do? Well, alongside the jasmonic acid accumulation, the plant starts manufacturing protease inhibitors, or PIs. And this is a brilliant biological counterattack. PIs literally block the digestive enzymes in the herbivore's gut, which makes the plant completely indigestible. So the caterpillar keeps eating, but it essentially starves. The plant also fires up pathogenesis-related genes to prep for any potential secondary infections from bacteria or fungi that might try to sneak into the wound. And finally, a specific peptide called cysteamine helps amplify this entire defense signaling process. Section 5. Integration of cellular mechanisms. Up to this point, we've kind of been looking at the individual puzzle pieces. Now, let's synthesize how these distinct local and systemic pathways merge into one unified survival mechanism. It's clear just how integrated this system is across 3 parallel signal types. First, the electrical signal, which uses slow wave potentials and GLR channels for super rapid, long-distance transmission. Second, the chemical signal, using calcium ions and reactive oxygen species to propagate the wave and amplify the signal so it doesn't just fizzle out. And third, the hormonal signal, using jasmonic acid for the heavy lifting of defense gene activation and tissue priming. These 3 are inextricably linked. They form a single, highly coordinated defense cassette. Think about the plant's intricate vascular architecture, its roots, its stems, its leaf veins. It all acts as a hardwired highway. The xylem and phloem aren't just plumbing pipes for water and sugar. They are actual structural conduits, perfectly evolved to carry these integrated communication waves throughout the entire biological structure of the organism. To summarize this professional academic review perfectly, electrical, ROS-based, and calcium-based signals appear to form a signaling cassette that is integral to many of these signaling networks. Basically, a plant's survival absolutely relies on this multi-layered network. It's a system that, even though it's built out of completely different cellular hardware, essentially rivals the speed and complexity of an animal's nervous system. It's truly mind-blowing. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. If plants are out there communicating internally at 13 centimeters per minute using sophisticated bioelectrical circuits, how might mapping these networks revolutionize our agricultural practices?
Could we, one day, manage pests not with chemical sprays, but by safely triggering a crop's own electrical immune system? And perhaps most profoundly, how does this incredible structural coordination challenge our fundamental definition of plant cognition? Thanks for learning with me today, and keep exploring the incredible cellular world around us.